So we're going to do f of x is equal to negative x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2. Now, synthetic division is not going to do us any good here because we may or may not have exact rational zeros. We may just have irrational ones. So we have to watch what's going on in terms of what we're doing. It's just a little bit easier to set them up. Now, in this case, we are going to have one that is rational. And then in the fourth degree one that we're going to do, they actually are all going to be irrational. So it makes it a little bit difficult to sometimes find or appear to be irrational. Let me back up and say that, because sometimes it's repeating and we can't tell that it is. So that's where it just makes it a little bit difficult. So a lot of this is being able to translate what you get on your calculator to your paper, not necessarily getting all the exact. So we're going to be doing the maximum number of turns. We're going to do the minima, and I'm going to put minima, and there may only be one, and maximum, we're just going to put it to where it would list them all, whether we're doing third degree or fourth degree or fifth degree or whatever. Now, with the third degree, we'll have one minimum, one maximum, and we want to know the total number of zeros. And we want to know how many of those zeros are real. And the number of imaginary. And that's pretty easy to see from the graph, because the real ones are where they cross the x-axis. The imaginary ones are where where it does not cross. And then we want to know its in pattern. In behavior, I think is what we called it. Yes, in our up there at the top of our notes. We want to know its y-intercept. And we want to find the real zeros. So we could have listed that here. I'm just going to do it here. I probably should have listed it up here. And then we're going to list the real zeros. Now, in most cases, we're going to have to round to 1 decimal place. And I better be careful about my graph. Yes, I think it will fit okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my calculator and type this in standard window. So I've got negative x cubed and then arrow to the right so I don't forget, plus 3x squared minus 2. Graph, I have no idea if I'm in standard window. I probably should have checked it. I believe I am. And I don't think that you're going to have trouble seeing the original graph in your standard window. Zoom 6, if you don't remember that, how to get it back to standard. Let me go back to window. Negative 10 to 10, negative 10 to 10. And all the classwork, I believe, will fit. Now, we may have trouble seeing some things going on, and we may have to do another feature on the calculator when we do the second one. We should be good to go here. So if I go back to my graph, I can tell that if you remember we listed them up here at the top, the maximum of terms for a cubic was 2. If you go back to the top up here, maximum number of terms was 2, 1 less than degree. And we've got a minimum value here. We've got a maximum value here. Minimum, it's actually the only minimum. And let me back up. Relative minimum and relative maximum. There is no maximum, there is no minimum, but in these two places I have one. The number of zeros is the degree, which is 3. Now, are they all real? Notice that I crossed the x-axis at 1, 2, 3 places, so yes, they are all real, and there are no imaginary. And my end behavior is up, down. My y-intercept, remember if you hit trace, will give you the y-intercept of 0, -2. And I'm going to take that equals off. I could just say equals -2, but I think I'm going to list it as the ordered pair, -2, 0, -2. And then we're going to be doing some calculating of these numbers. Now, if I look at my graph, I feel pretty confident that the minimum value here, this where it crosses the y-axis, is the minimum. But we actually have a way of going about it doing this. Now, it's several steps, and we'll take our time, and because I'm doing this on page 96, I may have some room over here on 97 to be able to list the steps as we're going to do it. But because this one right here, I have no idea. It looks like it might be 1, but it's not. I don't know that it's exactly at 1 something, and that would be difficult to calculate. So we've done just about everything that we can do. And probably the easiest, because all of these are going to work the same, to find the zeros and then also to find the low and the high are all going to be by the same process. I do believe it looks like that this 0 here is going to be at 1. So while I'm there, I'm going to check it. And it is at 1, 0. So I will go ahead and list my zeros as 1, 0. So I have one of them. And the other two, I don't know. And I'm going to put parentheses there because we are actually going to round to tenths, because that's our skill here, not to get the exact, but to be able to calculate it on the calculator. So let's do, I think will probably be easier to do the minima and the maxima first by the calculator. So the first step, and it's good, you're watching the video, you can stop it and you can go back on these, but I'm going to go to calculate, which is right here. And I'm thinking, let's see if I can go over here. I believe I can do that. And we'll need about half a page for number 2. So I think I'm going to go down over here, and we're going to do max. Let's see if I can get on the camera. And we're going to do max/min. And I'm going to go to second. And it's actually your trace key. And it's called calculate. So we're going to do second, hit your trace key, and we want to find and there it tells me. And notice we're going to do 0 here too in just a minute. But we want to know if we're going to do this first one. Let me go back to the graph. I'm going to do that as a minimum. So we're going to calculate the minimum. So second calc is what we usually call it. I'll put that on here. And we're going to go to number 3. And I think you can just arrow to it or hit the 3 and hit enter. And notice that it's blinking over here. And it could be blinking anywhere. I think it actually is going to blink where we just had it and we just calculated that 0. I was just checking that one because it seemed kind of obvious. Now, this is where it gets a little crazy and you have to be careful. What you're doing, let me see if I can get some scratch paper and show you. You've got this graph that does this. Okay, and we want to find that low point right there. Well, what you're going to do is the calculator is built with a program in it that you're going to narrow it down, and depending on your calculator, but I think all of your calculators are probably updated enough, it will put the dotted lines. Now, some of them, it may just put these arrows like this, but it'll still work. And the whole skill here is to be able to put that point between 2 bars. You just want to get it. You're not trying to get close as you can. You don't want to go way out. You definitely don't want to go up here to this one. You want to stay close to this point. And it's telling you that because it's saying left bound. So we're going to, that means the left side. So you're going to arrow, just use your left arrow key, and arrow to the left side of your point you're trying to find, which is the minimum. It tells us we're trying to find the minimum. And I'm going to do the left of it. Now, I can go over here if I want to. I just need to go to somewhere to the left of it. And I'm going to hit enter. So we did number 3 minimum, enter, and then we need to go to left of point, and then I'm going to say enter. And then it's saying, and you see it drew a little dotted line, and it should be to the left of the point you're trying to find. And there's the little arrow if it doesn't show this. And now it's saying right bound. So now, comma, go, let's do it under here. Go to right of point, enter. So I'm going to arrow to the right of it. Now this is where you just got to be careful. You don't have to go right there. I mean, it's okay, but you just want to make sure you're to the right of the point we're looking for. But you don't want to get into this part. You just want to stay away from the other curve because we're just interested in this point right here. So I'm going to go in that vicinity and I'm going to hit enter. Now, it's kind of weird. It's going to ask you to guess. And you're just going to hit enter. It doesn't matter where it is. It's a weird program, and that's the way it's built. For some reason, I'm thinking we've done something like this. Maybe, maybe not. But it's going to say guess. Oh, I know where we used this when we were trying to find where lines intersected on the graph. So it's kind of the same format. So you just have to, it doesn't matter. It's guessing an answer, and whatever it guesses is fine, and you just hit enter. And then it's going to give you the minimum. Now, let's talk about that. So it's on it, we have it, and when I hit enter, then you have your minimum or maximum, whichever it was, and then you'll have point. Let's see, let's do this, and it'll give you a point. Now, we need to talk about this one. Now, some of yours may have come up 0, -2, which we remember was our y-intercept, and this is actually 0. Oh, let me slide it over for you. Now, how in the world can that be 0? Well, I'm going to write it here, and it's weird. Yours will do this sometimes. Half of you, it may have come up this. Half of you may have come up 0. But let's talk about what happens when it does this, because a lot of people want to say -1.3. Well, now -1.3, -2 would be over here, and that's not the minimum value. But look at what that number says. I'm going to write it on my scratch paper. It says -1. I'm going to put the 1.3. And then it's got E -6. Now, you should have done scientific notation at some point in probably chemistry. And so that means times 10 to the -6. If you didn't know that, that's what that is. Well, remember, if a number is in scientific notation and you want to take it out and it's negative, you're going to take that decimal point and move it 6 spaces to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to get -0 point. And I'm going to have... let's see, if my 1's over here and my 3's here, I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I start here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm getting -0 point. Now, if I just round that off, that is 1/1,000,000th. So that would be 13/10,000,000ths is what that is, -13/10,000,000ths. So at this point, I want to round to the nearest 10th. So the 10th is 0. 0 makes it stay the same. There is no such thing as a -0. And so this, as much as it looks like we're rounding, we're actually not. This, as crazy as it looks, is exactly 0. Because if you punch in 0, which I think we did a while ago when we were in trace, and we hit 0, and it gave me exactly -2. And for some reason, it especially will do that when it's at on the y-axis. It's really odd that it'll do that sometimes. So just be careful on that.